When you go to my.hrw.com, you can see it in the top browser bar, my.hrw.com. This is the sign-in page. This should be a familiar sign-in page, like I said, for anyone that was in the school district last year. Okay, your username is your FSD email. Now, I borrowed the account information for a student of an ASB student of mine, because I want you guys to see the user interface for the website instead of the teacher one, because the teacher one looks a little bit different. I didn't want you guys to get confused. So you're going to use your MyFSD email as your username and your Google password that you've always had. So as soon as you entered this district, you should have been given, like on your very first day, your MyFSD email and a Google password that goes along with it. It's the same password for this website. So I'm going to log in here with my Face ID, and there you are. This is the dashboard page. As soon as you log in, you should come to this page. You should be very familiar with these three yellow icons. Don't worry about the purple icon, the My Notebook. I don't use it, so I've never used it. So we're only going to be looking at the three yellow icons today. I'm going to go briefly over two, and then the third one is the main resource that you guys are going to want to be very familiar with, because that's where you're going to download all the PDFs this year. So starting from left to right, let's look at the Interactive Student Edition. The Interactive Student Edition, I don't use that often, but I do sometimes. If we were in school and I had a sub and I didn't know that sub and I didn't know if they were able to teach the math lessons that I want to teach, I would usually assign the Interactive Student Edition, because it's basically, it'll walk you through a lesson, and there's an Interactive Student Edition lesson for every lesson in the book. So it's a good resource. Now, this is also a good resource to use, again, under circumstances, if we were in school, if you missed a class and I went over a lesson that day, this is the place where you'd want to start to get caught up, okay? Now, before I do anything in the online textbook, excuse me, let me show you a couple steps on how to unblock your pop-ups, because this website opens up new tabs every time you click on one of these links. And if your pop-ups are being blocked, then nothing will happen. So here are the steps to unblocking your pop-ups. You're going to go to Settings. You're going to find, on the left side, you're going to scroll down and find Safari. There's Safari. And then on the right side, you'll scroll down to where you see Block Pop-ups. Now, mine are already off, because I always keep mine off. But when you sign on for when you open this for the first time, it might look like that. If it's green, that means it's on. You want to tap it so that it turns off. So now Block Pop-ups is off. Now everything will work smoothly. So if we go back to the online textbook, and I click on Interactive Student Edition, it'll open up a new tab, and oops, this is the algebra book. It'll open up a new tab, and this will be your Math 7 Interactive Student Edition, okay? The way you use this is on the left side, you'll see all 6 units that we will be covering this school year. And when I click on a different unit, you'll see the modules in the middle change. So we're gonna be on module 1 to start the year. And then in the middle, you would click on the specific module you wanna open. And then, for example, if we were using this for lesson 1, click on lesson 1, and it'll open up a new tab. And this is the Interactive Student Edition. You can see from left to right, those very colorful circles at the bottom of the screen. Those are the different parts of the lesson. It goes through like guided practice. So every lesson starts off with an essential question, and you can press play video, and it'll show you a quick math video. But if we were to skip that and go to the blue button, this is the first part of the guided practice. So you can't hear the video now, but the lesson is talking. So you can click on this button on the right to open up captions, and you can read along with what's going on. So it's basically just explaining what's going on in the problem. And again, this is for adding integers with the same sign. So the material you see here, you're probably not going to need that much guided practice. Excuse me. But that's why this is a very valuable resource when we get later in the year, when we start learning tougher concepts. So you can go to each each of these different sections. This is the explain section, and then you would get to the personal math trainer. This is basically a guided practice section where you can click on the orange whistle and it'll open up guided practice problems. Now there's only two. You'll also notice at the bottom, there's a red circle. I very rarely will assign the red circles because that's basically the homework set. And I assign a homework from the textbook. And I'm going to explain all that more in detail on Thursday when we talk about math notebooks and that kind of stuff. But in the meantime, if you are ever kind of confused on a lesson and it's like late at night and you don't want to, there's no chance of talking to me until the next morning, you can access these lessons and go through, and there's just extra practice problems here that you can cycle through, submit them. If you answer a question and submit it, it will tell you whether it's right or wrong, and then it's going to, you can click check answer before you submit, and it'll tell you whether you're right or wrong before you submit your answers completely, okay? So that is the Interactive Student Edition. I'm gonna jump back to the dashboard page, and you guys, if you can keep your comments in the chat to a very, very minimum, especially if they have nothing to do with anything I'm talking about, please reserve the chat only for questions on what I'm talking about if you have a question, okay? So no one should be on the chat right now. You should all be listening and following along because again, I'm going over these very important websites and apps for your benefit, so just keep the chat to a minimum. Thank you very much. Okay, let's look at the second icon, the Student Online Edition. This is basically what the book should look like. It's a completely online textbook, and what that means is you'll see all over this textbook a bunch of links. So this page, and you can see it takes a little bit to buffer each page. On this page, anytime you see that red circle that says my.hrw.com, you can click on those in the Student Online Edition, and it'll open up the link to the resource that it's connected to. So the real world application links will show you the math videos that I showed you that was also in the Interactive Student Edition. So this is going crazy, so let me open this back up. There we go. Okay, so down here at the bottom of this page, you'll see there are 4 different icons. You'll see those 4 icons all throughout the textbook pages. So if we were to turn the page and say we go to lesson 1, okay, on this page of lesson 1, you'll see that there are 2 different icons, Math on the Spot and the Personal Math Trainer. If you were to click on this Math on the Spot icon, there's one of these links on every one of the skills that are in the book. So everywhere you see in that purple font, adding integers with a common sign, that's a skill that the lesson is teaching you. And there's a video tutorial that goes along with that skill. So if we click on the Math on the Spot icon, it'll open up a video tutorial. So this is Dr. Berger. He's one of the publishers of our textbook. And he or one of the other doctors or publishers of the book go through these video lessons for every skill. Okay, so every problem type that we do over the course of the year, there is a video tutorial for it that are in detail with one of the publishers. So they do a really good job. It's basically as if I were in class and teaching a lesson, they do a good job of breaking down the problems just like I would. Okay. The Personal Math Trainer links will also open up. This should look familiar. This is exactly the same kind of thing that was in the Interactive Student Edition. It's basically just extra practice. So again, if you ever need extra practice, you feel like you need extra practice, you can open up the Personal Math Trainer. All right, I'm gonna hold off on questions to the very end. Let me show you our next thing. So the final icon you see on the right that says Student Edition and Resources, this is where you're gonna be visiting the most. from the online textbook. So if we click on that third icon on the right, it's again going to open up a new window. And this is the table of contents for the entire book. The entire book, if it was like a physical hardbound book, these would be the pages from that book. So this is where you want to take a note on how to download PDFs, because this is where I'm going to show you, okay, those skills. So from this page, you want to locate the module or the file that you want to download. In this case, today we're going to download module 1. So if you click on module 1, it's going to open up the textbook PDF in a new tab. All right. Now, this is exactly what we were just looking at in the online edition, except now look what happens when I click. I'm tapping on the link right now and nothing's happening. That's because this is basically just like a digital piece of paper. It's a PDF version of the modules. These are what I want you to download each time we start a new module into Notability, because that way you can access the textbook without Wi-Fi. Okay, this is basically, yeah, it's the offline version of the textbook. Okay, so the same exact pages that you would see before. However, instead of those green icons, you'll see there are QR codes. So then if you had like a phone or your iPad and you want to scan this, it will open up a link to those resources that are in the online textbook. They're just not here because, again, this is a PDF, not the online edition.